So let's talk about one of the biggest, most fundamental questions in all of Kubernetes. When your applications are constantly shifting and moving around, what on earth happens to their data? I mean, really think about that. You have a pod running your critical database, right? It's holding all your user accounts, and then boom, it's just gone. What happens to all of that information? And here's the wild part. This isn't some kind of bug or an accident. It's a feature. Pods are meant to be disposable. That's actually the key to how Kubernetes keeps your system so resilient and self-healing. But wow, does that create a huge challenge for anything that needs to, remember stuff?
Yep, as we've seen before, pods are temporary. They can get replaced in a blink of an eye if they fail or when you do an update. So, if everything inside a pod is temporary, where do we put the things that absolutely need to last?
This is what we call the data disappearance problem. It's really the core conflict for any stateful application. Think databases, file servers, anything like that, running on Kubernetes. How do you possibly build something durable and permanent on a foundation that's designed from the ground up to be disposable? Well, the solution is just beautiful in its simplicity. You decouple the application from its data. You just separate them. In the world of Kubernetes, the lifecycle of your compute, your pods, is completely separate from the lifecycle of the data it uses. Pods can come and go, that's fine, but the data has to stick around. And the first piece of this puzzle is an object called a persistent volume. Okay, so a persistent volume, or a PV for short, is basically a chunk of storage that exists as a first-class resource right inside the cluster, just like CPU or RAM. And the absolute key here is that its lifecycle has nothing to do with any pod. A pod can be created, deleted, replaced, and the PV, along with all the data inside it, just sits there, completely untouched. Now, the real power of the persistent volume is that it's an abstraction. To your application, it just looks like storage. But behind the scenes, it could be a Google Cloud disk, a file share in your own data center, or one of dozens of other storage types. Kubernetes takes care of all that complexity for you. So, okay, the cluster has this big pool of available storage just waiting to be used. But how does an actual application ask for a piece of it? That's where the second half of our solution comes in, the persistent volume claim. Here's a really good way to think about this. A persistent volume claim, or PVC, is exactly what it sounds like, a request for storage. It's kind of like how a pod requests CPU and memory from a node. Well, a PVC requests a piece of storage from that pool of available persistent volumes. I love this coat check analogy because it makes it all so clear. First, an administrator provides the supply of storage. Those are the code hooks on the wall, or PVs. Then your application shows up with a demand. That's the coat check ticket, or PVC. Kubernetes then acts like the helpful attendant, binding your ticket to an available hook. And finally, your pod uses that claim, and poof, its data is hung up securely. And this whole dance has a very clear life cycle. First, storage gets provisioned, either by an admin ahead of time or just automatically when it's needed. Then a claim gets bound to that storage. The pod uses it, and finally, when the application is all done, something called a reclaim policy decides what to do with the storage. Should we keep it, delete it, or just wipe it clean for the next person? Okay, so this whole system is really clever, right? It totally solves our data persistence problem, but there's something else going on here, something much deeper and way more powerful. This separation, this whole idea of creating an abstraction layer for storage, well, it unlocks what I can only describe as a genuine superpower for your applications. See, because your application is just asking for, say, 10 gigabytes of fast storage through this abstract claim, it doesn't need to know or care what physical thing is actually providing that storage. And that means you can take the exact same application configuration and run it on AWS or Google Cloud or your own data center without changing a single line. This is what true portability looks like, and it is a huge deal for avoiding getting locked into one vendor. And this entire approach to storage really points to a core philosophy baked right into Kubernetes, this idea of a clear separation of concerns. You can really think of Kubernetes as being built on three main pillars: compute, networking, and storage. Each one has its own set of abstractions and its own totally independent lifecycle. Pods are ephemeral, services give you stable network addresses, and volumes give you persistent storage. This separation is the secret sauce to Kubernetes' incredible resilience and flexibility. All right, let's do a super quick recap of what we just covered.
We started with the basic problem. Pods are designed to be temporary, but our most critical data absolutely has to persist. That's the conflict we had to solve. The solution begins with the supply side, persistent volumes. These are the pools of real storage that are available to the cluster living completely separate from any pod. And our applications get access to that supply using the demand side, persistent volume claims. This is the clean, simple, abstract request for storage that our pods make. And when you put it all together, this elegant system of supply and demand is what makes it possible to run really complex, stateful applications reliably on a platform that's built for constant change. So great, we've solved for state. Our data is totally safe. But now our app is a hit. It's getting really popular. What happens when traffic suddenly spikes to the roof? How does Kubernetes handle adding and removing pods automatically to keep up with that demand? Well, we're going to break all of that down in our next explainer on Kubernetes Autoscaling. I'll see you there.